Hello, this is Emmanuel or Makundadas, and this is going to be a reading and perhaps some sort of discussion and explanation of the book from translated by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, called Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So this is read from the nitayveda.com or from the Vedabase. So we'll just have a read and just see if there's anything relevant to discuss from it. Okay. Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Srila Rupa Goswami, the younger brother of Sanatan Goswami, went to Prayag, the modern city of Allahabad, with his younger brother Vallabha. When the two brothers heard that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was staying there, they both became very happy and went to see the Lord. At that time the Lord was on his way to visit the temple Bindu Madhava. On the way to the temple, the Lord was chanting and dancing, and thousands of people were following him. Some of these people were crying, and some were laughing. Some were dancing, and some were singing, and some were falling on the ground, offering obeisances to the Lord. In all cases, all of them were roaring the holy name of Krishna. It is said that in spite of being at the confluence of the rivers Ganges and Yamuna, Prayag was never flooded until the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, at which time the city was over-flooded by love of Krishna. The two brothers, Rupa Goswami and Vallabha, stayed aloof in an uncrowded place and witnessed the great crowd and wonderful scene. When the Lord danced, he raised his arms and shouted, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, and people all about him were astonished to see his wonderful activities. After visiting the temple, the Lord accepted prasad, food offered to the deity, at the house of Dekanist, southern Brahmin. While at the Brahmin's home, the Lord was visited by Rupa Goswami and Vallabha. From a distance the two brothers fell down on the ground to offer obeisances, and they chanted many Sanskrit verses from the scriptures. When the Lord saw Rupa Goswami offering obeisances before him, he became very pleased and asked him to get up. The Lord then informed Rupa Goswami of the causeless mercy of Krishna upon him, for Krishna had delivered him from a materialistic way of life based simply on pound, shilling, pence. The Lord accepted the two brothers as his own devotees, and he cited one verse from the scriptures which stated that it is possible for a Brahmin who has studied the four Vedas to not be accepted as a devotee of the Lord, and that a pure devotee could come from a very low family and yet be accepted by him. When the Lord embraced the two brothers, and out of his causeless mercy touched their heads with his lotus feet, being blessed in this way, the brothers offered prayers to the Lord in their own words. The prayers indicated that Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Krishna himself, and he had assumed the form and fair complexion of Chaitanya, and thus known as Gauranga, the Golden One, and that he was the most munificent incarnation of Krishna because he was distributing love of Krishna. Srila Rupa Goswami also quoted one verse which was later found in the book Govinda Lilamrita. Yo jnana matam bhuvanam dayalu ulag gayan api akadot pramatam sweprema sampat sudaya bhuteham Shri Krishna Chaitanyam amum prapadye. Let me surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the most merciful personality of Godhead. He delivers those souls who are merged in ignorance and offers them the highest gift, love of Krishna, and thus makes them mad for Krishna consciousness. After this incident, Vallabha Bhatt invited the Lord to go to the other side of the Ganges, and the Lord went. From that moment on, wherever the Lord went, Rupa Goswami would follow him and stay with him, because the Lord felt inconvenienced in crowded places. He asked Rupa Goswami to accompany him to a place on the banks of the Ganges known as Dasaswamedha Ghat. For 10 days he instructed Rupa Goswami about the truth of Krishna, the principles of devotional service, and the transcendental relationships with Krishna. All of this was described in full detail so that in the future Rupa Goswami could distribute the science of Krishna in his book Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Indeed, Srila Rupa Goswami described this incident in the first verse of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in which he speaks of the causeless mercy of the Lord upon him. The Supreme Lord is cognizant and all-powerful, and by his causeless mercy he empowers a living entity to receive his mercy. Being under the spell of conditional life, people in general are averse to rendering devotional service and practicing Krishna consciousness. In fact, most people are unaware of the principal teachings of Krishna consciousness regarding one's eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the ultimate goal of life, which is to return home back to Godhead. Nor are people aware of the process by which one can return to the spiritual world. Because these important subject matters are unknown to the conditioned soul, Lord Chaitanya, out of his causeless mercy, instructed Rupa Goswami in the principles of devotional service. Later, for the good of the people in general, Rupa Goswami distributed this information of the science of devotional service. In the prologue to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami wrote the following: Hridi yasya piranaya pravatito ham varaka rupopi tasya hare pada kamalam vande Chaitanya devasya. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Lord Chaitanya Dev, because due to his inspiration I feel the desire within my heart to write something about devotional service. For this reason I am engaged in writing this book on the science of devotion known as Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. When Lord Chaitanya began his instructions to Rupa Goswami, he first told him, "My dear Rupa, the science of devotional service is just like the great ocean, and it is not possible to show you all its length and breadth. However, I shall try to explain the nature of that ocean by taking just one drop out of it. In this way you can taste it and understand what that ocean of devotional service actually is." The Lord then explained that within this Brahmanda or universe there are innumerable living entities who, according to their own fruitive activities, are transmigrating from one species of life to another and from one planet to another. In this way their engagement in material existence has been continuing since time immemorial. In actuality these living entities are atomic parts and parcels of the Supreme Spirit. It is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam that the length and breadth of the individual soul is approximately 1/10,000th part of the tip of a hair. In other words, it is so small that it is invisible. This is confirmed in the Svetaswatada Upanishad in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. One of the four Kumaras, known as Sanandana, gave the following speech upon performing a great sacrifice. O Supreme Truth, if the living entities were not infinitesimal sparks of the Supreme Spirit, each minute spark would be all-pervading and would not be controlled by your superior power. But if the living entity is accepted as a minute part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, he automatically becomes controlled as a supreme energy or power. The latter is his actual constitutional position, and if he remains in this position, he can attain full freedom. Bhagavad Gita 10:87-30. If one mistakenly considers his position to be equal to that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he becomes contaminated by the doctrine of non-duality, and his efforts in transcendental life are rendered ineffective. Lord Chaitanya elaborated on these teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam by pointing out there are two kinds of living entities, the eternally liberated and the eternally conditioned. The eternally conditioned living entities can be divided into two types, moving and non-moving. Those entities which cannot move, like trees for example, remain in one place and are classified as non-moving entities, and those that move, such as the birds and beasts, are called jangama, moving entities, and are further divided into three categories: those that fly in the sky, those that swim in the water, and those that walk on the land. Out of the many millions and trillions of living entities on land, human beings comprise only a small portion. Out of that small number of human beings, most are totally ignorant of spiritual life, are unclean in their habits, and have no faith in the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In short, most human beings live like animals. These can actually be deducted from the number of human beings that comprise human or civilized life. It is very difficult to find a few human beings who believe in the scriptures and the existence of God, or for that matter in proper behavior. Those who do believe in the value of these things are known as Arya, a word denoting those who believe in advancing in spiritual life. Out of those who believe in the value of the scriptures and the advancement of human civilization, there are two classes, the righteous and the unrighteous. Those who are righteous generally execute fruitive activities in order to derive some good result for sense gratification. Out of many such persons who engage in righteous activities for sense gratification, only a few come to know about the absolute truth. These are called jnanis, empiric philosophers. Out of many hundreds and thousands of empiric philosophers, only a handful actually attain liberation. When one is liberated, he theoretically understands that the living entity is not composed of material elements, but is spirit soul, distinct from matter. Simply by theoretically understanding this doctrine, one can be called liberated, but actually a mukta or liberated soul is he who understands his constitutional position as an eternal servant of the Lord. Such liberated souls engage with faith and devotion in the service of the Lord, and they are called Krishna Bhaktas or Krishna conscious persons. Krishna Bhaktas are free from all material desires. Those who are liberated theoretically by knowing simply that the living entity is not material may still have desires, although they may be technically classified amongst liberated souls. Their main desire is to become one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Generally, such persons are very much attached to Vedic rituals and righteous activities, performing them in order to enjoy material prosperity. Even when some of them transcend material enjoyment, they still try to enjoy the spiritual world by merging into the existence of the Supreme Lord. Some of them are also desirous of attaining mystic powers through the execution of yoga. As long as these desires are within one's heart, he cannot understand the nature of pure devotional service. But when one is constantly being agitated by such desires, he is not peaceful. Indeed, as long as there is any desire for material perfection at all, one cannot be at peace. Since the devotees of Lord Krishna do not desire anything material, they are the only peaceful persons within this material world. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Muktanam api sadanam Narayan Prayanaha Sudurlabaha Prasantatma Kotish Api Mahamuni. O great sage, out of many millions of liberated persons and persons who have achieved success in mystic yoga, one who is completely devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and who is filled with peace is very hard to find. Bhagavad Gita 6.14.5. In this way, Lord Chaitanya explained that of the many thousands and millions of living entities wandering in the material world, one who by the grace of Lord Krishna and the spiritual master gets the seed of devotional service is very rare and fortunate. A pious or religious man is generally inclined to worship deities in various temples, but if by chance, even without his knowledge, he offers his obeisances to Lord Vishnu, or receives the favour of a Vaishnava, a devotee of the Lord, he at that time acquires the asset necessary to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is clearly understood from the life story of the great sage Narada, which is related in Srimad Bhagavatam. By serving Vaishnavas in his previous life, Narada was favoured by the devotees of the Lord and became a great sage. Indeed, amongst sages, Narada Muni is considered to be the greatest. Vaishnavas or devotees are usually very compassionate upon conditioned souls. Even without being invited, a devotee will go from door to door to enlighten people and bring them out of the darkness of nescience by injecting knowledge of the living entity's constitutional position as a servant of Lord Krishna. Such devotees are empowered by the Lord to distribute devotional consciousness or Krishna consciousness to the people in general. They are known as authorized spiritual masters, and it is by their mercy that a conditioned soul gets the seed of devotional service. The causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is first appreciated when one comes in touch with a bona fide spiritual master who can bring the conditioned soul to the highest position of devotional life. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya said that by the mercy of the spiritual master one can achieve the causeless mercy of the Lord, and by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead one can attain the mercy of the bona fide spiritual master. Thus, by the mercy of the spiritual master and Krishna, one receives the seed of devotional service. He has only to sow the seed in the field of his heart, just as a gardener sows the seed of a valuable tree. After sowing the seed, one has to water it in the form of chanting and hearing the holy name of the Supreme Lord, or by taking part in discussions about the science of devotional service in a society of pure devotees. When the plant of devotional service sprouts up from the seed of devotion, it begins to grow freely. When it is full grown, it surpasses the length and breadth of this universe and enters into the transcendental atmosphere, where everything is bathed in the effulgence of the Brahma-jyoti. The plant even penetrates this Brahma-jyoti and gradually enters the planet known as Goloka Vrindavan. There the plant takes shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. That is the ultimate goal of devotional service. After attaining this position, the plant produces fruit, which is known as the fruit of love of Godhead. However, it is necessary for the devotee or the transcendental gardener to pour water on the plant daily by chanting and hearing. Unless one waters the plant by chanting and hearing, there is every chance that it will dry up. Lord Chaitanya pointed out to Rupa Goswami that there was a certain danger to be encountered while watering the root of the devotional plant. After the plant has grown some bit, an animal may come and either eat or destroy it. When green leaves of a plant are taken by some animal, the plant generally dies. The most dangerous animal is considered a mad elephant, for if a mad elephant enters into a garden, it causes tremendous damage to plants and trees. An offence to a pure devotee of the Lord is called Vaishnava Padaha, the mad elephant offence. In the discharge of devotional service, an offence to the feet of a pure devotee can create havoc. Thus one has to defend the plant of bhakti by tending it properly and taking care not to commit offences. If one is cautious, the plant can properly thrive. There are 10 principal offences which can be committed against the holy name. The first is to blaspheme the great devotees who have tried to spread the glories of the holy name throughout the world. The holy name of Krishna is non-different from Krishna, and one who attempts to spread the holy names throughout the world is beloved of him. Krishna himself does not tolerate offences against pure devotees. The second offence is to deny that Lord Vishnu is the absolute truth. There is no difference between his name, quality, form, pastimes, and activities, and one who sees a difference is considered an offender. The Lord is supreme, and no one is equal to or greater than him. Consequently, if one thinks that the Lord's names are non-different from the names of demigods, he offends. The Supreme Lord and the demigods should never be considered on the same level. The third offence is to consider the bona fide spiritual master to be a common man. The fourth offence is to blaspheme Vedic literature and authorized scriptures such as the Puranas. The fifth offence is to consider the glories attributed to the holy names to be exaggerations. The sixth offence is to concoct perverted theories about the holy name. The seventh offence is to commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name. It is understood that by chanting the holy names one is free from sinful reactions, but this does not mean that one should act sinfully on the strength of chanting. That is the greatest offence. The eighth offence is to consider that religious rituals, austerities, sacrifices, or other forms of renunciation are equal to chanting the holy name. Chanting the holy name is as good as associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pious activities are only means to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they can even be performed for some material reason. The ninth offence is to preach the glories of the holy name of God to faithless persons who is not interested in hearing them. The 10th and last offence is to maintain material attachment even after hearing and chanting the holy names of the Lord. The idea is that by chanting the holy name without offence, one can attain elevation to the spiritual platform. On the liberated platform, one is freed from all material attachment. Thus, if one chants the holy names and still has material attachments, he must be committing some offence. So, I think we'll stop reading there, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I might carry on, or maybe just leave it at that, but I hope that you got something out of it. Okay, bye.